So welcome everyone to this data catalog workshop and tour of the catalog. My name is Marije van der Geest. I am a data manager in the MOLGENIS team, and we're part of the genetics department at the University Medical Center in Groningen. So today I would like to show you how metadata is captured and visualized in the data catalog. So we'll start off with a little bit of introduction to the catalog and the structure of the catalog, and then I will give you a demo, and we will end with explanation of how to upload your data. So first of all, the purpose of the catalog. We developed this catalog to publish and share resource metadata, and these resources can be cohorts, data sources, data banks, biobanks. And today I would like to focus on cohorts. I think that applies to most people here. Furthermore, with the catalog, we want to facilitate cooperation within research networks and studies, and of course, make data models and harmonizations and mappings insightful. So first, let's start with the catalog structure. So this is an overview of the most important tables in the catalog. They store descriptive metadata about different kinds of researches, such as network studies and cohorts, and data sources and data banks, but that's kind of out of scope for today. These lines and arrows depict how the resources and the data dictionaries are associated with each other. And I will first walk you through this figure, and then I will give a demonstration of how this actually looks in the catalog. So let's start at the metadata block. So the upper part, I'm sorry. First with the institutions. So the institutions are probably what you expect, the universities or the medical centers or other research institutions that collaborate in this catalog. And these institutions may have created cohorts. Cohorts are generally the collections of data about a certain topic or a certain subgroup. And these cohorts collaborate within networks. So, for example, life cycle, longitudinals, and athletes we call networks. So we covered this upper block, and then we move to the data dictionaries. First, the collected source data dictionaries. The source data dictionaries are the data dictionaries collected by the cohorts. So that's really how the cohorts collect their data, the variables, and how the variables are named within the cohorts. The common data models are the data models defined by the networks. So these are basically agreements on how to, or how the networks define a certain set of variables. And the cohorts, they map towards the common data models to make a harmonized set of data. And they do that with, of course, mappings. And then finally, the studies. So all this information from the collected data dictionaries that are mapped to the common data models can be used within studies. And these are generally studies that want to analyze data from different resources. So now I would like to switch to the online catalog. So if you enter the catalog, this is actually what it looks like. And here again, you see the similar blocks in a little bit different order. But again, we have the institutions, the cohorts, networks, studies, and the data dictionaries. If you click on these blocks, you will see an overview of, for example, the different institutions, and you can access a little bit more information about these institutions. Same goes for the networks. So here we have an overview of, for example, life cycle and a description of the life cycle network. And we also have the cohorts. For example, I will use OSPAC as a example. And here you have a similar view for the cohorts. And for example, you see here to which or in which networks OSPAC is collaborating, for example, lifecycle. And if you click on lifecycle, you can again access the more information about lifecycle. So that's how this all is related to each other. Then here we have the data dictionaries. So the collected data dictionaries are the variables collected by all these cohorts. The common data models, again, are is a data model defined by the networks and the variables, and the mappings. So the cohorts, they define the source variables, and they map towards target variables within these common data models using data model mappings. Move back to the presentation. Another part of the catalog is the variable explorer. The variable explorer in the catalog can be used to browse common data models and mappings or harmonizations to those models. This is especially useful in projects where different cohorts work together to analyze their data. You can explore the common data models of different networks, see which cohorts map to these networks, and see details about the harmonizations. And for researchers, this is a tool to pick data for new projects. I can also demonstrate the variable explorer. So you'll find the variable explorer in the menu under variables. And here you have the view of the variable explorer. You can select, for example, a network. So we'll select lifecycle. And then you will see in this view, you will see all the variables that are in the lifecycle common data model. You can also search for topics. At the moment, we are defining a new set of topics. So this is not the final set, but will be updated soon. But we can still take this as an example. And for example, here you can also search for different topics. For example, if you're interested in the IDs, you can select here IDs and you will see the child ID. Furthermore, you can search for variables with this search field. And so let's search for example ADHD. And you will see all the variables that have ADHD in the name. And you can also access a little bit more information. For example, under the harmonizations tab, here you will see for each of these variables related to ADHD, you will see all the cohorts that have mapped to these variables. So you get a nice overview. For example, if you are interested in this first one, ADHD R eval 0, then you can see that, for example, Elfie and Inma, these cohorts already have mappings ready for this variable, and that can be used for research. You can also get a little bit more information about the specific variables. For example, we'll take this one, ADHD. So of course you see the variable name, but also a description. In this case, it's the age in years and how it's calculated. You see the unit, what type of variable it is, and also the number of repeats. So in this case, it's 70 repeats. So for each year, from birth till 18 years, this variable is measured. Again, if you click on View Details, you see more information for all the different time points. You see which cohorts have been able to harmonize or partially harmonize. And for this specific variable, you can also see how it's actually harmonized. So for different cohorts, you can see what syntax they use to harmonize to this variable. And this can also be used as a reference for if you want to, if you're actually doing research, you can see what calculation is behind this variable. So that's the variable explorer. That is gives an overview of all the mappings and harmonizations for the common data models and can be used by researchers. Now we'll go back to the presentation. So that was the first part. So now you've seen how the data is visualized within the catalog and how you can browse and search for metadata and variables. So now we go to the next part about how data is captured. So
there are some questions in the chat.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I can't see the questions.
Jenny, go ahead.
Maybe shall we do it at the end?
Or at the end, of course.
Yeah, I don't know what's preferred.
You can wait to the end.
Yeah, shall we wait to the end? Okay. Then yeah, so this is about how to upload your data. We work with so-called staging areas. These are separate small databases in which cohorts can upload their data. Here, data managers can fill out descriptive metadata for the resource in online forms and upload data dictionaries using templates in Excel format. We have detailed online documentation about this on the server itself, and where you can view up-to-date information on how to upload your data and how to fill out the templates, and also you can find the templates there. So we'll go back again to the server. So the manual you can find by clicking on manuals, and here you will find the documentation. This documentation you can find under Catalogue Guide and under Cohorts or Data Expert Provider Data Manager. And here you will see all information about how to upload your data. There are also templates here, source dictionary templates, and there are also down below here are mapping templates. Don't know exactly where, but they are down here somewhere. Here. And here you have all these tables that for each column in the template explain what you can fill in and what options there are. So the staging areas that I just mentioned, you can find them on a different server, Data Catalog Staging. And if you log in here, I will again use LSpec as a example to log in myself as well. You will see some example databases, but also a database for your own cohort. So if you are, for example, a data manager for a job, you will see job here, or for Born in Bradford, you will see Born in Bradford here. So it's really specific for you and only you can access it and the other cohorts can't. In this database, you see all the data tables. The first thing you can do is enter your cohort rich metadata, which is actually just a description of your cohort. So if you open the cohorts table, you already see a data row for your cohort, and you can edit this row. And here you can fill in all information you want about your cohort. For example, the website. You can enter contact details, but also collection events, for example. And you can add publications. And if you can't find your publication here, you can add a new one by clicking on this plus button. So here you can give an extensive description of your cohort. A while ago, we sent out Google Docs where many already filled in information, but we actually extended this field, so you can now add more information. You can also do it yourself. So if you haven't done that yet, you can have a look at this and fill out more information if you want to. Then there are also different tables for your source variables, but also for your variable mappings, table mappings, and you can fill these out by using the templates. After you filled out the templates, you can go to up and download, and you can click here on browse and select the template and upload it to the tables. So let's have a look at these templates. Let's start with the source dictionaries. This is an example that's also in the manuals, and here it's filled in with test cohort. But for example, if you have your source data dictionary and you are part of LSPAC, you will here fill in LSPAC. The second sheet is for collection events. So here again, you fill in your resource, for example, LSPAC or job or whatever the name is, and you can fill in collection events. In this case, data was collected at baseline, at birth, and the first month, but also the trimesters during pregnancy, and so you can make sort of subgroups within for your variables. You can fill in source tables. These are tables that in the format that you actually collected them for your cohort. You don't necessarily have to fill these in. Some people do, but that's really up to you if you want to adhere to your own structure. Then we have the source variables. So these are actually the variables that you collected for your cohort. You can indicate from which table, in which table they are collected, the name, a more descriptive label, the format and the unit. And for these, the options are described in the manuals. So here we have grams and centimeters, but there are of course more. You can give a description and example values. You can indicate a collection event if that's necessary. So here again, you will say from which cohort and then the collection event, if you use certain standards, and the keywords. And these are the topics that are shown in the variable explorer that I showed earlier. Then we have the source variable values. In this sheet, you can indicate if a certain variable has standardized options or code lists. For example, if you have the variable partner in household, this variable has certain options, yes, no, or not available. And here in this sheet, you can indicate what the options are. So some variables, if you, for example, have a string or an int, you don't have to fill this in. But if you have a variable that is categorical, so has already options defined, you can indicate in this sheet what the options are. So this can, for example, also be the code of a country or a type of food or whatever is needed. In the sheet for repeated source variables, you can fill in the repeats. So if the variable is measured at different time points. And then we have subcohorts. Yeah, those are the subcohorts. I think that speaks for itself. So this template is really for the source data. And the source data you, of course, want to map to the common data from the networks. And for that, we use a second template, which is called source mappings. And this one has only 2 sheets where you can map tables to tables in the common data model. So, for example, test cohort has 2 tables, metadata and household, and you want to map these to the lifecycle core table. You can indicate it in the table mapping sheet. The same goes for variable mappings, but it's a little bit more complicated. So again, you have your cohort and the variables from your cohort. And if you have a table, you can also indicate the table here. And you map these to lifecycle or longitudes or athlete common data models. And here you indicate to which variable and to which table. And also if you were able to completely match the variable or only partially, the syntax that was used, and a description if that's needed. You can also match map variables from different, if you have a combination of variables from different tables, you can also indicate that here. This is fairly new. So here we have a few variables from one table, but for this variable more variables were needed to make the mapping. So in the from variables other tables and the from variables other tables name, you can indicate if there are more tables. So this is a little bit complicated, but here, for example, we say that from the tables mother we have just diabetes, and also from the table mother we have blood glucose, and from the table household we have partner in household. So this gives you a little bit more freedom in which variables to use for your mappings. So I think that was the explanation of the different. Let's see if I can go back to the presentation. For some reason, my there we go. Yes, so that was the explanation of the different templates. So now we've shown you how to browse and use the catalog, and also how to upload data to your own staging area. With that, I have some concluding remarks before we go to the questions. So first of all, only metadata is stored in the catalog, so not actual research data. We also provide services to securely store research data and facilitate federated analysis within networks. But in the catalog, the online catalog, it's only metadata, so no sensitive data. MOLGENIS data catalog is a SaaS, that's a software as a service, which means we keep the product the same for multiple projects and networks. We also develop the project together with these networks and different stakeholders, so that everyone gets to have say in what the data model and what the user interface should look like. But this also means that we have to make concessions between the different projects. Furthermore, we are a FAIR catalog. We adhere to the FAIR principles. So that means we would like the data in the catalog to be findable. We are implementing server-side rendering to make the researches findable by search engines. We prefer the data to be accessible, if possible open access, otherwise descriptions of the data are accessible. We try to make the data interoperable and reusable. So we are trying to get all the networks to make use of the same and already described ontologies and standards, where possible, of course. And we would like to bring together networks that work on the same subject to use the same common data elements when they are harmonizing data. When possible, we would like the metadata stored in MOLGENIS data catalog to be open access, as I already mentioned. Next to that, we would like to have data from different projects on one server, which again improves findability and cooperation between projects. But we can provide customized URLs for different networks and projects. So that means you will have your own sort of link to the catalog. And you can always contact MOLGENIS support for questions. We are happy to help. I do have to say that at the moment we are a little bit short-staffed and busy, so it might take a little bit longer before we can actually answer your questions. But please send an email if you have run into any issues or have any questions.